Hello everybody, welcome back to SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. In the last part, we began the Flying Dutchman's Graveyard. In this part, we finished the Flying Dutchman's Graveyard.
We're not gonna tell the level to suck a dick?
No. Flying Dutchman Graveyard is fun. It's an appropriate last level difficulty. I don't really feel like these kinds of games should be that hard. I mean, granted, I never beat this as a kid, so, it's harder than I think you would expect most games of this type to be.
Yeah.
It's not, I feel most kids' games I don't think should be overwhelmingly challenging, so I think this is a good point of, yes, you do need to be skilled at the game in order to win, but
yeah,
no,
generally speaking, for games of this kind of genre, I tend to put my bar at Ratchet and Clank level challenge, which is to say, not particularly hard, but you'll get blown to pieces if you're not paying attention. So
yeah, I think it's important for games, even for kids, to have some level of difficulty. Now, you can design the difficulty with kids or so in mind, but I think it is important for even kids' games to have some level of difficulty for the intended audience, so that way, A, you can show that they're learning, and B, it does give a level of good feeling to accomplish something, because if a game is too easy, even for kids, they feel kind of let down.
Yeah, I think even kids can sense something shallow.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk and hot takes in games media lately about difficulty and accessibility for casual players, but there's also a little thing called stimulation. Games are meant to stimulate the brain, and when things become brain dead, that's not stimulating much, is it?
I think that I do like the idea of having ways to mitigate the challenge if things do get too hard for someone, but I disagree with the super guide, we're just going to beat the level for you solution that we came up at first. It's gotten better since then, for sure, but nothing to me feels worse in a game than for some reason it's Donkey Kong Country Returns that irritates me the most, with that stupid goddamn pig that's waving a literal white flag at you, telling you to give up because, is our game too hard for you,
yeah,
little baby?
one of the things that I actually do like, I forget which game did it, but there's a game where, like, if you lose at a fight, you can temporarily turn the difficulty down, optionally, just for that one fight, if it's giving you shit, and bypass it sort of that way.
I know one of the Trauma Center games, no, actually all of the Trauma Center games after the first one let you do that, but that's not a game where you really fight. I mean, I guess you fight the aliens that are inside of people's bodies, but you're supposed to act like that's a super serious medical condition, so I'm sure it's not what you're talking about. So, yeah.
I think one of the God of War games, if you die enough times,
it lowers difficulty. It
unlocks easy mode.
That's a Devil May Cry thing, actually. If you died so many times before Mission 3, I think, or Mission 4, if you
I think that was 3 who did that.
It was the first game, actually. If you died enough times before you got a certain distance into the game, you would unlock Easy Automatic Mode, and the game would ask you if you want to switch to it. But you needed to do it at least once to unlock Easy Mode at all, so a lot of people just did it on purpose.
It always felt patronizing to me. It's like, is their game too hard for you?
It was more of a joke at the time, because it was also the first game of its type too.
Well, I have to ask you then: do you prefer that, or would you rather have them automatically turn the difficulty down if you're feeling?
Yeah, because
because
I know games like Spyro 3 does that for you, where it's just suddenly there's way less enemies around for whatever reason.
Doing it automatically without my consent is what's going to piss me off, because I'm the kind of player that if I'm screwing up at something, unless there's something like legitimately bullshit about it, I'll keep banging my head against that wall until it fucking breaks. I'll leave the "it" in that sentence ambiguous.
Yeah, because the two games that come up off the top of my head that do that are Spyro 3 and Resident Evil 4. Both do that.
Yeah. Well, 4 has a lot of things by dynamic difficulty.
I think dynamic difficulty is fine if A, you disguise it well, and B, you don't, like, drastically lower the bar. It's just a means to give you a little less crap around you to deal with.
Yeah.
Me, I'd rather the game just be upfront and let me know if there is an easy mode available and whatnot. Because, yeah, I feel like I don't learn how to complete the challenge appropriately if it's taken out of my hands.
On the flip side, though, I like games that, like, sort of pay attention to how you're playing for the first segment of the game and then prompt you for the difficulty that they think you're suited for.
Yeah, I'll give credit to Modern Warfare did that.
Yeah, like, you know.
We were talking about this in Resident Evil where we were talking about going on a hike or whatever.
Oh, yeah, where they ask you, like, what kind of experience you want instead of just saying normal, easy, or hard.
Yeah, because like we said, most people feel kind of obligated to play normal if you're given the normal option. Because
Hi, Radiant Dawn.
Yeah. Because they made it normal and easy as opposed to normal and hard, was it?
Yeah.
Radiant Dawn, why?
Because isn't that game already one of the harder ones even on...
It is a hard game even on normal, yes.
Is that another one where they did the Devil May Cry 3 thing? Where they pushed the difficulties from the Japanese version over?
What happened was, in the Japanese version, there is normal and hard, basically, which is what Fire Emblem games are normally divided into. For some reason, with Radiant Dawn, the localization team screwed up and made them easy and normal. Meaning, easy was Japanese normal, which is, if you know anything about Fire Emblem games, no, they are pretty hard games normally.
Yeah, that's the Devil May Cry 3 thing.
Gotcha.
Where they slid all the difficulties down. They straight up removed the Japanese easy mode, made normal mode easy, and, you know, on and on. And what this resulted in was an extra hard mode that didn't exist in the Japanese version. So when the special edition came out and they returned the difficulties to where they belonged, Devil May Cry 3 became the only game to have a very hard mode between hard mode and must die mode.
Jeez.
So
wow.
yeah, that exists because they made hard mode harder. So now you can play this hard mode that's harder. It's kind of a pointless addition in the grand scheme of the game, but it's there because, well...
I mean, Devil May Cry 3 is already a pretty hard game, so...
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but is it Dark Souls hard? Is the real question.
Here's my thing about this eye laser thing. He's shooting eye lasers in a squiggly pattern. What is he doing? Crossing and uncrossing his eyes rapidly?
I mean,
yes.
Considering SpongeBob, that's actually relatively
maybe
possible.
He doesn't have full control over it.
I don't know. It looks like it. I always think DNA strands whenever I see that pattern, which has
it's
nothing
a very
to do with
precise pattern to cross and uncross your eyes in. I think that the phrase you're looking for, by the way, is double helix.
Oh yeah. Oh no, he's definitely crossing and uncrossing his eyes. If you look at the path that the lasers are actually taking out of his eyes, and across the board. So
That's
yeah,
what I mean.
Yeah, he's definitely doing that. So that's a good way to get yourself sent to the hospital, dude. But you know, whatever.
Well, you know, not necessarily.
He's already dead.
I mean, your eyes do that every night when you sleep. Well, not necessarily crossing and uncrossing.
What, shoot lasers?
But, well, not that, unless you're Cyclops. But his are shooting lasers all the time. What I meant was like rapid eye movement. Your eyes move left and right really fast while you're sleeping.
Yeah, but they don't like cross, or they
no,
shouldn't.
They don't cross, but
at the least, if they are, consult your medical.
He's also breaking the first rule of Ghostbusters is to never cross the beams.
Well, I mean, though, the Ghostbusters aren't supposed to cross the beams. The ghosts.
It's not the beams; it's the streams. Get your quotes right.
It's funny that you bring up Ghostbusters because the Dutchman is voiced by Brian Doyle Murray, the brother of Bill Murray.
I thought that the Dutchman was voiced by Tom Kenny.
No, he's voiced by Brian Doyle Murray.
Hold on. I'm like 90% sure that he was voiced by Tom Kenny. So hold on a moment.
I'm saving you the Google search.
Yeah, I'm doing one too. Let's see who goes first.
I already know that.
Yeah. So.
I mean, maybe Tom Kenny voiced him in a game or a later season, but it's always been Brian Doyle Murray.
Okay, god damn it. No, you're right. Fine, whatever.
You're literally 75 shiny things away.
Yeah.
Quick, touch something.
That's actually what I'm doing right now. Is I'm just blowing up a couple of enemies just so that I can
get enough.
Get enough, pretty much. Yeah. If you know where to farm the objects efficiently, it's also just farming objects is a decent way to get spatulas. Because if you pay Mr. Krabs enough of them, then you can just buy a couple of them. Which actually, we were talking about difficulty. That's I like that that's an option in this game, because in a lot of the 3D platformer type area games styled after Super Mario 64 and onwards, that's a common thing about, there are harder levels, but you don't have to do them because there's usually
unless you're Sunshine.
Unless you're Sunshine, good point, well made. But if the game's designed well, yes, there are harder challenges for people who want to find them, but you also have the option of playing a lot of the easier ones first, so that you can skip the most bullshit ones, which I think is a good way to handle that sort of thing as well. But yeah, so now I've got the magic number 75, and I don't think I even really needed to buy any from Mr. Krabs, so that's also cool. I figured that for the sake of a playthrough like this, it'd be way more interesting to watch me do real levels as opposed to me standing in a corner and firing cruise bubbles over and over again. So yeah. But once you get the magic 75, the magic number 75, then you're able to go into Plankton's workshop and fight the final boss, which is a robot SpongeBob.
Look at that guy with that big square head and those short shorts.
Wow.
That's the most hideous thing I've ever seen.
Wait, that hideous thing looks like me.
I'm ugly and I am proud.
You see, I like that episode, but there was a point on Nickelodeon, like there was one summer where it seemed like Nickelodeon was just airing the same episodes of their shows over and over again.
Oh,
so
geez.
it was the Something Smells episode of SpongeBob and one of the very early episodes of Fairly Odd Parents where Timmy becomes the cool kid that I got so sick of watching after a while that I can't handle it anymore. Basically.
The way channels handle cartoon episodes has never failed to do anything but frustrate me. I think it's gotten better over time, I hope, but like they never used to air anything in order ever.
Well, it doesn't matter if they air them in order for a show like SpongeBob because it's episodic anyway, but
no continuity.
for a show like Avatar, The Last Airbender, it's certainly as hell as important. Because if you're watching reruns of that and you go straight from an episode in Book 3 to one in Book 1, you're going to be really confused.
I think Toonami did that for a few shows. I remember at one point they were showing Dragon Ball Z reruns because, they kind of have to at some point.
Yeah.
And then, like, on Friday was the new episode, so it's like, oh, they're fighting the androids, and then on Friday they're fighting Second Form Cell.
Well, the other thing though is that when they air things out of order like that, they're generally airing episodes based on what got more views the first time around. So they're limiting the episodes, so you don't get to see some of the episodes at all.
Mm-hmm.